The Guerin Report, brought to you by Diatonic, standing at Yulong. Good evening, welcome to the Guerin Report, and congratulations to all of our feature race winners over the weekend. Over the last 50 or so shows, we've been lucky enough to bring you some aspirational tales. If you're in the racing industry, if you want to be a breeder or a trainer or a jockey, you've heard from some of the best in the business. Tonight, a different sort of story, an inspirational story from Dame Catriona Williams. We hear from her about her fascinating life in a story which is a privilege to bring to you tonight. The powerful Dame Cat Williams. This may be a racing show, but you are an equestrian and your love of horses started in a different field. So let's go back to the start of that. Was it a family thing? Was there a reason you fell in love with horses?
I had the most incredible mother who just loved horses, and when she married Dad, there were no horses on the property at all, and so that's how I started in the front of the saddle, 4 years of age, and then we really loved show jumping. Show jumping was my passion, but I knew that I wanted to represent New Zealand, and the way to do that from New Zealand was really to take up eventing, and I was very lucky to get Graphic, which was Tinks Pottinger's badminton mount, and so that really gave me a really good head start into the eventing.
So was Mum a rider, because it tends to be a hereditary skill?
She was a rider and she loved horses, and she was a real natural. Like I feel, Mum actually died when she was 54, she died quite young, and quite interesting, when she died it became more of a job rather than a sport. But I feel very, very fortunate that I was given that opportunity to learn to ride when I was young, and horses take you places. So whether you're riding, competing or racing a horse, they definitely take you places.
They took you places. You must have been very good. I don't know much about equestrian riding, but I know it's hard to be really good at show jumping and eventing, and you rode at some of the highest levels in the world. In fact, you rode at badminton. I think you finished 15th. What was it like being on a world-class circuit in an extremely skilled environment?
Well, you have to remember that was 20 years ago. And I actually, when I do some public speaking, I talk about the fact that we didn't even have a cell phone. So we would drive from England through to France to compete. And if we got a flat tyre, we'd stop and knock on someone's door. And we didn't speak French, so there was a lot of sign language going on. And you think you would not go nowhere without a phone. You don't go to the loo without your phone, do you? But back there, we didn't have phones. We barely had emails, and we were all just learning how to do that. But when you're overseas, it comes across as quite glamorous, but it's far from glamorous. You know, you have to learn everything. You have to find your vet, your farrier, where you get your coat dry cleaned so you're right for the next show. And I remember going to France for one of my events, and I didn't have a groom, and so I did everything. But at a 3-day event, you should never go without a groom, because if something goes wrong, you've got no one to pick up the pieces. But fortunately, we had a good result that day, so it was okay.
I think there's a perception from the outside that equestrian riding at the top level can be a bit bitchy and a little bit difficult. Is it actually that way, or was it quite a community?
Oh, look, I was incredibly lucky. Like, I was of the era of Mark Todd and Blythe Tate and Vaughan Jeffress, Sally Clark, Andrew Nicholson, and truly they were all outstanding. As a team, when we competed as a team, everyone pulled together. And I still remember getting to the water jump in one of the French competitions with Blythe. And he said, "I'm going to tell you how I'm doing this, but any of these others, we tell them that we're going straight through. But I'm going to tell you we're going the long route because it's not going to work." And sure enough, everyone else, yeah, we're going straight. But it's about working as a team. And when you're overseas, as Kiwis, you work together.
What do you think makes a good rider on an equestrian horse? And having been a good rider, does it give you any more understanding for what you're seeing in a horse race and maybe some of the difficulties jockeys come up with?
Yes, look, I think for me personally, I always look for the athlete. I'm not the guru on the pedigrees, and that's probably how I treat people as well. You know, for me, my friends are my friends because they're my friends, and I've got beautiful friends, and it's the same with the horses. If you see a horse with a good attitude, you can train it. And that's the same with eventing and show jumping. If they've got a great attitude, I'd rather have something that's trainable and not quite so flashy than something that's got the massive big trot that you're trying to teach it to do a half pass or a flying change. Because if it hasn't got the right attitude, when it comes to competition, they don't step up.
So what about the riders though? Like you came into it from your mum having been a good rider, but what makes somebody good at equestrian riding? Because it's incredibly multifaceted when you get to the eventing stage.
Well, as you know, when it comes to horses, anything that can go wrong will.
Yeah.
And so you need to have big kahutas, because if it can go wrong, it will, and you need to cope with the downtimes. The highs are high, but damn, those lows are low. And we went through it with our beautiful colt that we sold at Magic's last year, and broke a neck and a whole bunch of things. But you know what? It'll all be all right in the end. There's that saying, and if it's not all right, it's not the end. So when it comes to riding, you just got to keep putting your best foot forward. And at the end of the day, you are only competing against yourself. So all you can do is improve yourself. So if you improve, you are winning. So each time you go out, if you do 2% better in the dressage and you're 5 seconds faster on cross country, you've won. And that's the mentality you've got to treat it as, because if you don't, you're never going to win.
During that period when you were travelling the world and getting to that elite level of riding, you got wooed by little Avondale's Sam Williams. I'm sure there's some competition. How did he win you over?
We often say that we travelled the world and married the neighbour, the two of us. But look, we actually had, I skied with Buzz and Suze and Sam when I was about 15, and I was quite sick, and I was actually useless compared to them. Like, they're really good skiers. So I think I was sick and I was feeling sorry for myself because I wasn't as good as them. But again, a real lesson that actually you get these opportunities. You've got to give it your all. And I'm not sure that I impressed him that holiday, but we ended up together in the end.
He told me that he would ride horses to try and woo you, to pretend he was a rider, and then once you said yes, you'd marry him, he basically gave up.
That's absolutely right on the button.
That's false advertising.
But he actually can ride. Like, he actually has a beautiful seat and he can ride, but no, he doesn't now.
Okay, you got married in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've known each other quite a long time. We've had lots of conversations. You know what, I've never thought to ever ask you what happened on November the 10th in 2002, which changed your life, but we can't go any further with this show without asking you. So what did happen?
So I was riding a horse as a favour for a friend. Really talented, lovely horse, but probably more suited to show jumping. And when we went cross country, I'd already ridden the course once, exactly that course on one of my own horses, and gone clear in under time. But this horse was super careful, so we got to a combination fence where he jumped up, landed short, couldn't make the distance, so put another stride in, and we both cartwheeled over the fence. Interestingly, nowadays they have tangible pins, so if that fence had had a tangible pin, the rail would have fallen with us and I may not have been where I am. Also, they now have air vests, so if I'd had an air vest on, it might have puffed out like it does in a car. When you have a car accident, you have the air cushions. Both those two things have been brought in over the last 20 years and are real assets to the eventing world. But unfortunately, I broke C6-7, so that's here. What that means is I don't have any normal sensation from nipple down. So when you're looking at someone in a wheelchair, if they've got funny hands, they've broken their neck. If they've got normal hands, they've broken their back. What you'll also find out is that someone with good hands can pretty much be independent. But someone like me, a female C6-7, you need help. And so I have help every morning to get up. And I have great people that I work with around the country, good agencies that make sure that it's not Sam's job. And that was the first thing we learned at Burwood, actually. Keep your partner away from your cares so that our relationship is still about the relationship.
How long did you spend in Burwood?
4 months. Over Christmas. It was a big 4 months.
You are a disarmingly positive person, but how long during that process before you started to see some light at the end of what must have been a pretty dark tunnel, or some form of normality or new normality coming up in your life?
I'll be really honest, Michael, I was pretty low. And there was a time, it was probably about 6 weeks into the recovery, and I was in the gym feeling pretty sorry for myself. And Sam and I had a number of conversations about why me, why us. But the reality is, why not me? You know, it can happen to anyone at any time. And I was in the gym trying to learn to go from my wheelchair to a bed and bed to wheelchair, which when you're sort of down to about 42 kilos, you've got no muscle, you've been told you can't drag your bottom because if you do, it'll skin and then you're on your tummy for 6 months. All these things going through your head that you're learning. And I looked up, and at the end of the gym, in wheels, this beautiful Maori boy with this Rastafarian hat on, with the biggest smile you've ever seen. And all the physios just gravitated to him. And I went, right, I need to be that guy. So that was the turning point. And from then on, you've gone, I always tell people, fake it till you make it. Got a smile on your face, even if you're not feeling it. Because I do challenge myself when I go to town or wherever. There's a lot of upside down faces. So my challenge is to get them to turn them up when I'm going down the street.
I've never asked you this question either. Some people get nervous around people in wheelchairs. They don't know how to react or what to say to them. What advice do you give people in that situation? Because they may not know anybody who's in a chair, so therefore they may know not what to say to them.
And it's a really good question, actually, Michael, because I was probably the worst. I didn't know anyone in a wheelchair. There's this want to help, and you tend to over-ask and over-compensate for
It must
someone.
be annoying.
It's really annoying. And the worst is when you get an 80-year-old lady patting you on the head and going, how can I help? And you're like, I mustn't swear because I would like to right now. But the reality is, for the first few years, I was pretty rude and pretty grumpy. But then I turned the switch and realised they're only trying to help. So often I will get asked, can I help you? Can I do this? And I'm like, no, but thank you so much for asking, because every now and again I do need help. And if I've been grumpy, the next wheelie's going to cop it and not get asked if they can help. So it's tough. It is really tough, because our biggest challenge is not the chair, it's actually lack of independence.
You mentioned a couple of those milestones, seeing the young Maori boy in the gym and obviously, getting used to having people offering their help. What are some of the other milestones you have to go through? Because I'm sure there's markers you look back on now where you learn to drive again and all those other things that happen to give you the independence back.
I received a letter from Christopher Reeve.
Wow, that must have been weird.
It was cool. It was really cool. I had a beautiful friend, Charlotte Gendel, who wrote to him and said, would you? And he did. And the one line I remember is, you'll find new ways to do the same old things. And it's so true. So, even holding a pen and writing. When you go swimming, I just wear a little floaty around my hips and swim on my back. That took 2 years to learn to swim again. But the freedom in the water is incredible. Cooking, I love eating, so I've got to work really hard in the gym because I love food. One of the things I do remember, and I talked about this recently, is I actually put my upper body down on my knees and had to put myself up. And it took me about 2 months to learn to do that. And that's such a simple thing. So it's literally going down like this and pushing up. And now I just do it without thinking about it. But that was a massive milestone. And the other thing that's always really tough is blood pressure. When you've been lying down for so long, you've been operated on, the blood pressure is enormous, low blood pressure. Everyone worries about high, but for us, the low blood pressure is a really big issue to deal with.
Must have been cool to eventually get your own car and to be able to drive places and not have to ask people to take you places.
Again, independence. I said to my carer this morning, if my chair's working, my car's working, I'm great. Don't come near me if I'm not, I'm pretty grumpy.
I can't imagine you grumpy. Like, I'll put this as nicely as possible because you're now a dame, but can you be a bitch?
I think the answer to that is yes in the past. I definitely was, I had that ability because I was really competitive, and I'm still really competitive. I think my husband is more competitive. I'm a little bit more forgiving. I think that I've come to the understanding that sometimes you just got to let things go. But for me, horses were my world, and I rode to stay away from people. People drove me nuts. Now, people are my world. I love horses, obviously that's why we're here, but people, good people, make the world go round.
In 2005, the Catwalk Trust was started initially as a goal for you and your friends to help you in some ways heading forward, but it's now taken on a far greater meaning for an enormous community of people who are challenged by spinal injuries. How did it gather that momentum, and why did it gather that momentum?
I think I'm forever grateful for the thoroughbred industry for getting behind what Catwalk started. And you're right, it started initially as a bit of a party from a bunch of friends that said, let's raise some money. And truly, there was a few things that made the initial start success. We had support from Cathay Pacific to fly our international patron Zara Phillips out. So getting Zara as our international patron was a big coup. We secured a Zabeel service fee from Sir Patrick, and that went for $135,000 when he was standing at 100. And at the time, that was the first time it had ever been done. And it was a real turning point, and we all realised that actually this sport is high risk. People that are going through spinal cord injuries, most of them are not couch potatoes. It's because they live life on the edge. And if you were a couch potato, being in a chair would be fine, but we're not. And I feel that the industry got behind it because they know that any day someone could be kicked, any day something could go wrong. And this problem is solvable. That's the number one thing.
So you're talking about paralysis.
We can solve it.
Being solvable.
We're 20 years old, Catwalk, and we are so much closer than we were 20 years ago. And we are so excited about the research that's happening here in New Zealand, so excited about what's happening with Perry Cross in Australia, the Christopher Reeve Foundation in America, Spinal Research UK. Like, we are all working together. We've got this incredible network of people. I'm really proud of what the team do. My role is very much on the periphery now. We have an incredible board who, if you Google Catwalk and look them up, they are amazing. David Pretorius has just stepped down and he's done an amazing job for the last wee while, but the board, you'd have any of them on any of your team. They're there, they're in the bunkers to make this happen, and it will.
I've been on the website, and you can just go there and donate $5. You can donate $50 and say, I'm trying to do something. If someone's watching this and they would think, well, how's $50 going to help research into helping people with spinal injuries? But I suppose a lot of 50s strung together might make one more person get into the research department, and that might be the person who has the golden key.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter whether it's $5.50 or $50,000. Every dollar is making a difference, and Catwalk runs on a shoestring. We're not marble pillar stuff. It is all about the research. Our team do not spend where they don't need to spend, but they are across what is happening. And that's probably the thing we're most proud of, is the connection that we've got. The world runs on connections. It doesn't matter whether we're talking horses or people, or, our role is to get this to connect to this. And, you look at a slip coming down on the Rimataka Hill, you can't get through, but a little bit of soil one day, a little bit of soil the next day, and all of a sudden you've got a pathway. We can do this, and that's exactly what we need to do. So everyone is approaching it from slightly different angles, whether it is bridging around the point of injury, whether it's stimulation through the brain and rewiring. I think it's going to come from multitudes of angles working together. There are people walking that have pushed through via intensive gym exercise, but it's a really long, hard road. It's possible doing it that way, but I believe the research out there will make it quicker.
Ballpark, how much money would Catwalk Trust and the associations of people around them and the functions they're involved in have raised in the last 20 years?
Look, that's, again, a really good question. I should know it off the top of my head, but I know that we're close on 20 mil as far as dollars raised. There is room always for more. Personally, we've got a little project in the go. I can't share it with you, but I promise you'll get first dibs when we release it in a few weeks' time, because this is as simple as that. It is about connection, and it is about money. If we can put man on the moon, and if we can have a car that drives by itself, we just need the right people as passionate about what we're doing with the money, and it will happen. I don't want anyone going through what I've been through, because not everyone has a Sam, not everyone has the family and friends that I've had, and not everyone is surrounded by this beautiful thoroughbred industry to make us feel normal. I think that's the thing about the thoroughbred game. You can come in as an 18-year-old, or you can come in as an 80-year-old, or a wheelie, and there's a whole bunch of fun to be had. So, yeah, that's a little sing out for the team.
Away from the trust, life has gone on. You've done some pretty amazing things, like you've been to Everest Base Camp and you've been in a couple of marathons. I feel quite lazy thinking about that. So is that part of you that's inside that seeks those challenges more now, or you've always been a seeker of challenges and now you're just like, stuff it, I'm going to do them anyway?
Again, I love your questions, that's great. I definitely am a target person. Put the stake in the ground, work backwards, and then work your way towards it. You know, every now and again someone would say, oh, I want to win that race, I want to beat that horse. And I'm like, well, I want to win this race because I want to beat all of these horses. So, you know, we do set our goals quite high. Personally, I'm really proud of what Sam's done with Per and Canto. Very excited about Little Bros and what he's got going forward. But also, I think we're two individual people. We do our own things, but we come together when we need to. And I feel, I'd like to think that I, you know, help lift Sam up, and he does the same for me. So we back each other. Excuse the pun.
Funny enough, you were never really a racing girl. So you were an equestrian girl, but you weren't a racing girl. So how did the love of the racehorse start? Was that just because of Sam, or was it a thing that the more time you spent at Little Avondale, the more you fell in love with them and saw their stories?
Well, there's a couple of things here. One is I was that girl that when the racing came on the TV and that jolly race commentator, I would run to turn the channel off.
I know a few of those girls.
It annoyed me so much. Now I'm the first person to turn it on a Saturday morning.
Channel 62?
You got it, Channel 62. I never used to know what channel. Now I'm the first to go, hey, Channel 62.
Why? What do you love it now?
It's the people.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, first and foremost, we're here for the horses, but I love the people. I love listening to someone knowledgeable like you talk about it. It's not, I don't have the knowledge that you do, but I do love the passion that goes into it. And I suppose that's what comes from Catwalk as well. The team behind everything that we do comes from here, and everything here stems from passion from horses. And you know, when you get a family, as in a horse breed or mother or daughter that's doing well, we've all been a part of it. So it might be your horse that wins, but you've brought it off us, and we know we've got the sister in the paddock, and you're like, woohoo! So that's what I love most.
On that subject, when you breed as many horses as Little Avondale does, are you allowed favourites? Do you just love some more because they're prettier, or, and I always wonder, answer truthfully for this, do they become more favoured when they become really good, like Rockin' Horse?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, we're all about winning. Yeah. So Rocky came back from Australia last week, and Sam and I went for a walk around the farm, and she's got this beautiful chestnut Zoustas colt, and she's a really protective mum. But before she went to Australia, I would push her around the farm, and she'd come running up to the fence, and yeah, they know, they're not silly. And she was there. I was obviously there for those two big wins that she had, and I'll never forget it. She's absolutely changed our lives.
I know the first time Sam wasn't there with you for the Newmarket, but the second time for the Champion Sprinting Wilds, and outside your wedding day, one of the biggest days of your life.
Yes.
It's just that big an adrenaline rush.
Nature Strip has plenty of company here. Front page, Lofty Strike together with Nature Strip. They were followed by Rockin' Horse and Rothfire. And back in the field on the outside, Levante. Nature Strip with plenty of challenges. Lofty Strike, front page, Rockin' Horse. Nature Strip's going to have to lift. Rockin' Horse, the centre just in front of Nature Strip. Rockin' Horse. Rockin' Horse has won it.
I wish everybody that experience from that day. That Group 1 winning, I cannot explain how special it was. Homebred, bunch of friends there, just living the dream. I hope there's more. I hope we've got more Group 1 success, but I genuinely wish everyone to have that experience. It was that special. I do want to share one little thing with you. I remember Sam and I weren't married at the time. I was competing down the road at Te Papa Equestrian Centre, and I came to see him because we had a little share in a yearling together. And you have to realise that as an eventer or a show jumper, we would spend 4, 5, 6 years producing these horses to sell them for 50, 60, 100 grand, right? And if we did, it was like, woohoo, like, we're so clever. So anyway, it came in, and Sam said, oh, your horse is about to go through the ring. And we went in, one bid, 50 grand. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool. And that was Cherry Taylor by Matt Philip. I'll never forget it.
Who's right next door as we
right
speak?
Next door, and I was in, hook, line and sinker.
You've been bestowed with a lot of honours, and people recognising what you've done through the Catwalk Trust over the last 20 years, but talk us through becoming a dame. It's one of those things I presume no one ever thinks is going to happen to them, and you look very young to be a dame. The process of when you first get informed and asked whether you're accepted, and then getting it bestowed on you, that must be a very weird experience.
I'm much better behaved now. I'm much better. I don't want to be, oh my God.
The naughty dame.
The naughty dame. But look, you're right. It's not something you aim for. When Sir Brian Lahore was around, he very much took me under his wing. If there was a dinner in Wellington, he would take me over. And I used to sit there going in awe of these incredible people. And just good humans, and it never ever crossed my mind, truly, hand over heart. So when I got the email, I was quite shocked, but what I did is I thought through it, and I obviously you accept, but I was really thinking, how can I use this to make Catwalk do what Catwalk does quicker? So that's what I'm really hoping it can do, expedite what we do, and just to be there the same time as Sir Brendan was knighted as well. That was really special because I think the world of both Brendan and Joe.
Poor old Sam. When Brendan becomes Sir Brendan, Lady Joe becomes Lady Joe, and Sam's just
he's that guy,
just
right?
Sam Williams.
Well, and as you know, he, without trying to give him too much credit, he is. I wouldn't have achieved half of what we've done without him.
Well, 2025 wasn't just about becoming a dame. You actually became a book publisher. So tell us about the book, which is about New Zealand thoroughbred racing, and how people can use that as a way to help more or less donate to the Catwalk Trust.
Well, Michael, we were approached by Brian Delore, it's about 6 years ago now, that he had this idea of doing a book that recognised New Zealand breeders and the impact that they've had on the New Zealand thoroughbred industry. And so basically he was writing the book, interviewing all these incredible humans that have been the base for the New Zealand thoroughbred industry, which he did. He got Sir Patrick before he passed. It is the most beautiful book, and it is available now, and all the proceeds will go to Catwalk. It was supported by a number of the really big horse studs, incredibly grateful to the industry. This was Catwalk's way of doing something for the industry because they've been so good to us.
There's people watching this show. We've all been through tough times, not many as tough as what you have done, and they're thinking, I'm going through something, whether it's a physical challenge, a mental challenge, a relationship challenge, and it feels really tough, and at night it tends to feel worse. What's your advice to those people? What's your advice to people who are going through tough things and are looking at you and thinking, gee, I'd love to be like that lady? What's your advice to them?
Life is hard. It doesn't matter who you are. There are always challenges, but it will be all right in the end. I feel that you must live your own life. Don't live your life through someone else. Don't feel that someone is going to save you. So whether it's your husband or your wife or your mum, it is up to you. No one else can change how you feel each morning. It is up to you. So if you're having those days, we all have a day that's perhaps not as good as others. For me, I go for a swim, have a better night's sleep, eat some food, good food, but you've really got to focus on the fact that if you want that person to love you, you've got to love yourself as well. Love yourself more, because without that, how's someone else going to love you?
I hope you enjoyed watching that as much as we here enjoyed bringing it to you. If you do back a winner at any stage over the next couple of months, check out catwalk.org.nz and make the smallest of donations to see if we can make that dream of Dame Cats a little bit closer to reality. Next week on the Guerin Report, a very different type of female racing champion, Sam Spratt, will be joining us on trackside on Monday from 8 p.m. The Guerin Report, brought to you by Diatonic, standing at Yulong.